Hey everyone, welcome to the First Three Knocks. It's Brother Steve Sprott here, and before we begin, I just want to let you know about the awesome stuff that our friends at Fraternal Ties have available on their website. They have everything from Masonic footwear and t-shirts to unique things like Masonic pillows and custom bow ties. They just came out with a beautiful natural acacia watch. It's a beautiful timepiece and it's loaded with Masonic symbolism. Check them out at fraternalties.com. You will not be disappointed. fraternalties.com.
On today's episode, Happy New Year's from F3K.
You're listening to the First Three Knocks, a Masonic podcast in the District of York, where we discuss topics for the betterment of Masonry. The opinions discussed in this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent the views of Grand Lodge or any other Masonic body. Now, here are your hosts.
Shall we see it, loving brothers, ere another New Year's Day? Shall we join those loving others whom the past year tore away? Shall we change this toil and drudge for the bright celestial lodge? Shall we tread that one more station, take that fast and best degree, whose consummate preparation is to set the spirit free? Lay our bodies off, that then souls unburdened may go in. Shall we find beyond the river? Shall we find beyond the tomb those who left us not forever? Let us tell we too should come. Shall we learn the long-lost word that admits a man to God? Then be zealous, loving brothers, while your lives so swiftly tend. Emulate those faithful others in the prizes they have gained. O'er the river or on the shore, they are happy evermore. Toil, your wages are rich and ready. Bear your burdens, all shall cease. Give, however poor and needy. Pray, and God will give release from this bitter toil and drudge to the bright celestial lodge. That is a poem written by Brother Robert Morris, which is an excellent poem and a great way to kick off our episode on New Year's. I am your co-host, Worshipful Brother Bert Tellier, Media Past Master from the Rising Sun Lodge in Aurora, Ontario, and I am here with our producer, Brother Steve Sprott.
Steve Sprott here from Zaradatha Lodge 220 in beautiful, historic Uxbridge, Ontario.
And your other co-host, now the Junior Warden of the
JW.
Rising Sun Lodge, Brother Gino Scovio. And it's always a pleasure to be here, guys.
Yeah, so we're coming back at you here in Uxbridge, Ontario, in the eastern part of our jurisdiction. And today we're talking very simply about New Year's Day.
The infamous New Year's, the new beginnings. I love New Year's, And again, I don't know if my listeners, or our listeners, have heard. I'm a big suck. And I do really find that every year, as much as I'm very grateful and have accomplished quite a bit through what I had planned, although a lot of it is just kind of you roll with the punches. I find at New Year's Eve I'm bawling,
a lot
crying.
Of reflection.
Yeah, it's again, it really feels like a brand new start every time. That ball drops and you've done that countdown, and it's like, here we go. Let's set everything behind us because it's the past.
It
Can't
is.
change the past, but you can definitely make a better future.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this time of year. I mean, this is when we reflect, and very interesting, we're going into a new decade.
Oh.
One decade behind us, another decade upon us. And so I kind of see that as it's not the usual 1 year reflection opportunity. It's a whole decade ahead. So how are we going to take the knowledge from the past 10 years and turn that into something great in the next 10?
I don't know if you guys know, but this is also, we have Christmas, and then I have my birthday right in the middle of that New Year's. So for me,
what day is your birthday?
The 27th of December.
I'm on December 31st, New Year's Eve.
You're right. Okay, so you can understand exactly that. It truly is a fresh new year, new start, new everything.
Yeah.
A couple days off. Now, I got a cool, unique thing. I mean, that's awesome that we share a birthday close. My younger brother is exactly 5 years to the exact day. So we're 5-year twins, if you will. Just took him a little while to slide out.
lot of festivities during the holidays there.
There's a ton. That's why, again, we talked about the big Italian family. We literally have a 2.5 week party. And then it follows with my daughter on January the 4th. So it literally just starts. And in fact, actually, I'm not to go all the way through, but my oldest is in October. My wife is November. Me, my brother, and my dad are December. Dad's the day before us. My daughter in January, then
That's
mom
incredible.
in February.
Wow.
So like,
Bombs
we got a
away.
4 or 5 month spread of just solid partying and such.
Yeah.
And we talked about, family time and such. And we really are a lot always together. But I love every moment of it.
Yeah, it's a very special time of year. Looking back over the past 10 years, do you know what reflection do you have over the past decade?
Man, you come up with some really amazing, challenging questions. 10 years, and I had literally like 10 seconds to think of this one. There's been a lot, and I find myself these days kind of like talking like my dad, kind of like, the things I've seen in my life, walking uphill
in my
both
day.
to school there and back. I don't know. I couldn't understand that one. Uphill in the snow to school
Both
and
ways.
back. There's been a lot of changes, some good, some bad, at least in my thoughts and opinions. I've really, in the last, I'm going to say 5-ish years, I've seen a lot of really cool changes coming down the ropes. I think that we went through, I don't know, like maybe coddling, if you will, like just always being overly concerned with everything and all aspects. And maybe in my views and my experiences, possibly seeing a little bit of a laziness occur, just feeling of entitlement, I mean, we always, I grew up anyways, where my parents certainly worked hard to do the best they could to give us, everything we wanted. And maybe sometimes, the way we carried that forward was we really started to give even more without having to work towards things. So it kind of created a little bit of, well, I just feel like that's mine and I need it. And I mean, again, I see that in the last more 5 years, give or take. But what I'm excited about now, more than ever, is I think the direction where we're going with kind of the newer generation coming into the new decade. I'm seeing a lot of amazing young people, and I'm talking like just getting into the cusp of teens, if you will. At least my experience, I got a soon-to-be 16-year-old at home, and we see a lot of different. We see a lot of, I think, similarities of what we did growing up, but we also see where they're going and their challenges they face, and I'm excited to see that it's this generation who are going to be our next leaders and such, taking stand and really being vocal. I mean, it often comes through some pretty, I think, devastating situations, and we don't have to get into all of them, but like just making all kinds of positive changes. They're tired of seeing the same old play out. And
status quo doesn't work
It doesn't
anymore,
work, There's always room for improvement. I always say once upon a time it worked for once upon a time. But we evolve and we grow and we change, and we have to make that change and transition to become better. Again, now more than ever, I mean, we have some, whether you agree with it or not, we're not here to debate those things, but whether you agree about, changes that need to take place to better our globe so that we have better quality of air and water, we have massive movements being led by the youth. And you get all kinds of people that again might want to debate, they're looking for a day off to complain. They're not. They're actually showing up to complain, if that's what you want to call it, rather than complain and sit on the couch and eat a bag of chips and watch whatever and complain even more. They're actually getting up and doing something. And so that gives me even further hope that as much as we all have our opinions and our suggestions, I see a wonderful light being lit and a whole new transition. And I think, again, I can't speak of even further, but weren't these movements that happened in the 60s and 70s that brought us into the 80s and 90s of just comfort and being in that comfortable, somebody else will take care of it. But then, again, you get another surge of, nope, let's do it ourselves. So I've seen a lot of things that were obviously happening and certainly made us who we are today. But I'm really excited about where we're headed in the next 10 years, if you will. just for the movements that we see taking place in the world today.
Excellent. How about you, Sprotty? What do you think the last 10 years have brought?
For me personally, it's been a very interesting past 10 years. They've gone by in a flash. It feels like 2 years, 3 years. And I've just had so many changes in my life in the past 10 years. I don't typically like talking about myself, so but I was in the private security industry, and I was working my way to becoming a police officer, and it was a really cool job. I loved it. I got to do security for a lot of VIP people. Randy Couture, the UFC fighter, came on his last fight in Toronto, and I got to do security for Randy Couture.
Oh, very cool.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I've done security for people like Snoop Dogg and Pitbull and things like that, and I loved it. I just, I love the people that I worked with. I loved the job. I was a security supervisor and just working my way to becoming a police officer, and some events took place, some life-changing events took place on the job, and I just, I went home that night and I thought, this isn't worth it. It's not worth my life for what I'm doing here. And I had been working shift work for a long time, and finally, I left that job, and I said, I'll take a break from it for a while, and I went into another occupation, into marketing, where I am now, and I realized very quickly that, shift work wasn't my thing, what I was doing for the past little while, and I was just able to sleep a lot better, and my eating got back on track, and so I stuck with it. I stayed in marketing, and I pursued that, and it's taken the better part of 5 years now to settle into that role and build in what I'm doing now, and just getting comfortable. Again, not to go too deep into me, because I hate talking about myself, but I went through. I also went through a breakup with my significant other at the time, and now getting on track with a new partner, Jessica, who you've met.
She's a wonderful lady.
Yeah, she's the greatest.
Might be a little bit too good for you.
That's what I think. I tell myself that all the time. Yeah.
I don't know if she knows that. We won't tell her.
Yeah. Well, she won't be listening to this podcast. So. So I mean, and just building that relationship, and then on top of that, becoming a Mason, and moving into a new town, and becoming involved in the community, and so a lot has taken place, and it's just been a very, very, very busy 10 years for me. A lot of changes and adjustments, and I found this year in particular, I've settled into a lot of those things, whether it's, I moved into a new house, so I'm getting settled there. Masonry, I'm now a year into masonry, and when I get my third degree on the 20th of January, it will be exactly a year since I was initiated.
Wow.
So I was initiated.
What a good anniversary.
What a year.
January 21st, I was initiated, and January 20th, I'll be raised to a Master Mason. So it's been exactly a year. At the same time, I was moving to my new house, again, building this new relationship, getting comfortable in my role at work. So it's been a lot, and I'm looking forward to the next 10 years where I can kind of, now that I have everything settled, just kind of ease and move forward with it all and settle a bit,
Yeah.
So a lot of changes, and they've, everything that has worked out for the better, and it's been great. So no complaints there for anything that's happened. It's been a journey the past 10 years.
It always is.
It's really defining time in my life, right? I mean, I'm a young guy, and just getting my life sorted and where I want to be and what I want to do. So, and I think I'm settled with that now, and it's just moving forward.
But you're a good example, because I mean, in the last 10 years, you were a teen growing into a man, and again, we've only known you for a short period of a year, but
well, 2000.
I'm looking forward. You already are a tremendous leader in everything that you do, like everything. Like you jump in both feet. If you had 4 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, they'd all be in, and it really shows again, kind of your qualities, and that's been awesome to watch you grow.
Well, I appreciate that recognition, but I hate the recognition at the same time.
Yeah, we know. That's why we love doing it. That's why we
wizard
like giving you
behind the
recognition.
curtains.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun to see us.
How about yourself, Bert?
My reflection on the last 10 years is really around change. A lot of change in my life. I mean, we lived out west in Calgary for a few years. We came back, have changed roles with some different companies. We had kids, we're raising kids now, and we've lost some members of our family, like just a different transition, right? We're getting to an age where we're raising young kids and our parents are getting older, and so there's a little more compression of pressure and finance and time on us. But I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed that time. You guys know me, I'm a proud father.
Yeah.
And I think our kids are doing really well. We're really pleased with the progress they're making, and my reflection on that is what else can we do? What can I do personally as a man to be a better dad and a better provider and a better caregiver for my whole family? That is my reflection of the last 10 years. So a lot of great experience, and we came through it pretty good, but now how do you take that experience and turn it into something even better in the next 10 years? So I'm really excited about the next 10 years. I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. You talk about the kids, and I'm with you there. I have a 20-year-old and a soon-to-be 16-year-old. And boy, man, time flies, and I'm so proud of my girls. My 20-year-old decided a couple years ago, as much as she loves being home, she just wanted to go find her own way. And she's living abroad right now and looking and making plans to move to Europe and just really kind of experience life.
Good for her.
And so again, that totally rings through as far as like personal side of where we're going. I'm excited to see where she goes. My youngest daughter has found a cool little craft that she's partaking in these days, and I'm excited to see where she might go. And all we can do is, be there and encourage them. Again, having a different upbringing, we had a little bit more restriction, and I think it was more just to kind of be safe. Or to have my parents, make you feel safe. I certainly encourage my kids to dream big.
Yeah.
To follow really what it is you want to do. But I also remind them that I think one of the things I was told is every person goes through 3 major career changes. So if you're trying to find your purpose in life today, you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
I'm not to say you're never going to find it. There's no answer of what your purpose really is. It's just enjoy everything that you can today. And if it leads to greater opportunities, take advantage of it. If it leads to just happiness, take advantage of it. It's not always about how much you can make or how much you have. It really is, what you have inside. And
whatever you do it well. It makes me think of a quote by Jim Rohn. I don't know if you know who Jim Rohn is, but he was a motivational speaker who passed a few years back. But he had this one line that he would say, and I think of it often, certainly in masonry, the busyness of masonry, and it is wherever you are, be there. Wherever you are, be there. And it's really powerful. It's about being in the present moment.
Especially today. We always have these gadgets. Who was I listening to recently? Oh, I was listening to some motivational speaker. I think he was a coach, NCAA, I think a basketball coach. Just recently saw something on Facebook, and he is in a press conference, and he could care less about what just happened on the court. He picked up his thing because the problem we have today is these damn phones. Because I just went to a restaurant recently, and I had 2 younger couples sitting beside me, and not one of them were talking. They were all in. He goes, and I wanted to get up and be a dad and say, put your crappy phones away and talk, and it's true. It's be in the present. My wife says it to me all the time. My profession can be a bit of a challenge. I try not to use it as an excuse, but my phone is my personal office.
That's my biggest
call.
Yeah.
And it's a hard balance, I mean, my profession, often I can be called within moments notice and have to run out the door, or I have to answer an email and put out a fire. And it just comes with the gig. But I find that for us, we really strive and try hard to, be in the present, be in the moment. And again, this time of year is one of the times you can really take advantage of that and do that. Put your stuff away, talk, have a drink, eat a meal, go out, do something in the community, set new resolutions. I mean, we're getting into New Year's, and we're looking at resolutions, and we're kind of coming up with that. And it's a wonderful restart to trying to aspire to be a better person, better being, better everything. But I don't always agree that you always have to have it that one moment. Here we come in, and certainly gained my insulated winter pounds, and for me, I was like, do I wait till January 1st to create that resolution, or can I just start it now? And I did. And this week alone, we
Take the first step.
We did, right? We took the first step. My wife and I decided to be on a journey together, which I think helps. Having to have an accountable partner be with you. It doesn't have to be your actual partner. You can be a friend or whatever. But we're getting up at 5 a.m. these days, which really sucked day 1 and 2. And we're at the gym no later than 6 a.m. and we get a really good, workout. And it's not even like, hitting weights, just doing things, moving the body, waking it up. We're home by 7:15, 7:30. We have our daughter we get ready to go to school with. And I got to say, in this 1 week, by Wednesday, my internal clock was a little bit adjusted. I'm finding I'm sleeping a bit better. And not just because just getting up and being able to do things and kind of be refreshed and bright. I think in any resolution, it's tough to start, but stick with it. It's real quick and easier than you think to create a new habit. And it's really hard it's just as easy to lose that same habit in days.
Right.
But the whole thing is stick with it. It doesn't have to be that. It could be anything. Just come up with something that you could do to improve yourself. And what I've also found through this, we as you said, we have challenges, we have stresses, we go through all kinds of things that you really can't control and they're unplanned for. And it could create disharmony at home or, in your everyday life. But I find when you have certain goals like this, and they don't have to be that big, you accomplish them, you feel good, and everything around you just starts to kind of come together.
Yeah.
The universe just answers you back and says, hey, you're taking care of your kingdom, your temple. Now we're going to help take care of you. And you still face with challenges and whatnot.
But I want to stop you there for a second, because this is an interesting point that I see a lot in society, is this notion that things are supposed to go my way. There is this notion like, why do I just not get the breaks? And the reality is everybody goes through a lot of difficulty. Wealthy people do.
Yeah.
World leaders do. People who have very simple jobs trying to get by have difficulty. It doesn't matter. It's our lot in life. And so the point of that is learn the skills.
Yep.
Like engage. Try and become
what
better.
you're saying is exactly what we discuss all the time at home. You get your challenges and such, but through every challenge there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's like, the saying is the glass half full or half empty. To me, I always look at it as it's half full. And so, when you put the negative spin on things, I think negative things tend to follow. When you have the positive outlook, even when the times are rarely at their most toughest, it's amazing how things just and can fall into place. When you're putting the best you out there, and I think that we all have the capabilities to put our best foot forward. Get up and be the best student that you can. It doesn't have to equate to numbers on your report card. Just be the best person you can. You go and you're the CEO of this company, be the best CEO that you can. You are in charge of a charity, be the best organizer of that charity, and everything else just, it really is, it's really funny because I've actually experienced this. It actually does fall into place. I've had some challenges in the last 10 years, and one of them was my weight and just feeling crappy.
By the way, for our audience, I want to clarify something because we're making it sound like you're a great
I'm
big
not
fat
a big
guy.
No, I'm not.
And Gino is not. He is not at all.
I'm not at all. What I mean was, I was getting challenged with, as we get older, Sprout's the young guy here. We're getting to be the older bucks.
Yeah, he was young.
And I was very much into soccer, and it would hurt, running up that field after a game, coming into my 40s now.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was like, what? It's either, continue to just not go do that, or be more active, get out there and do things and make changes. And I ended up making a resolution about 5 years ago. I joined a boxing club, and I joined a Biggest Loser contest. And by no means did I think I was going to do much of it. And in 3 months, I lost 50 pounds. Now, I've put those 50 pounds back on in the last 5 years. But to me,
hiding.
I mean, like Masonry, it was a goal I set, many challenges to face, and it was getting up and showing up and putting in the work.
Right.
And it was, do I want to give it 10%, 20%, 100%? And the more I gave, the more I was rewarded in my health.
Wasn't that interesting? Huh?
And then everything else just felt that was one of my most successful years, also in my business career. And it was with no more effort of trying to find the work than actually putting in the work to myself, that everything else just came into play.
Right.
And so I've had that experience a few times in my life, and then you get comfortable. You say, well, I'm good. I'm all set. And then you find yourself slipping again. So the key in my experience is stick with it. And you're going to have some bumps in the roads, and you're going to have some points where you go, it's hard. But like you just said, it's not meant to be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're supposed to be tested with weakness, temptation, and adversity.
Kind of.
Those
again, Masonic values.
Sounds familiar. Right?
And that's where I really appreciate the fact of being a Mason, because I'm excited for the new year to come. I've already set some goals to attack and start with now, because I figure, well, better to get a head start and moving forward. And I really have to say that as much as I was able to do things like that before I joined Masonry, it's always at the forefront of my thought these days more than ever, because, it's all about improvement. It's all about taking care of yourself, and everything else follows.
Yeah.
So it's been cool.
Brilliant. Sprotty, what about you? What's on the agenda for the coming years?
Like I mentioned before, settling into the lifestyle that I've created in the past, 5 years, really. But Masonically, I think I'm comfortable in Masonry now. I haven't done my third degree, so there's still some to learn in the third degree. But taking a step back and kind of learning a lot of the allegorical stuff in Masonry is, I think, really important for me. Just even in the coming year, just instead of learning ritual, kind of learn the meaning behind a lot of the other things in Masonry, and reading more books, allegorical books and things like that. But yeah, I think just growing into the lifestyle I've created is the number one thing for me. I haven't really put any goals down on paper yet. Haven't really thought about it. I know I think within the next couple days, I'll probably, now that we've done this episode, sit down and really think about it. Yeah. But I always have a few, and I think my health is one of those things too, as Gino said. In the past 5 years, just getting into these roles and being so busy, I have forgotten to stay as active as I would have. So I know that's the number one goal for most people. You go January 1st to the gym and it's packed, and it's 2 days before it's empty. So health wise, but also Masonically, I think there's a lot of things that I'd like to do and really dive into. We have the podcast established, and I'd like to keep building the podcast. And I think we've talked in the past and had meetings about where we want the podcast to go. So that's really important to me. But yeah, just getting my life under my belt. And
you're well on your way. I can tell you that,
absolutely.
my friend. I can tell you that, my friend. That's an interesting point you bring up, though, related to the podcast, and maybe we spent a little time there. Let's talk about where we're going.
Oh man,
huh?
I still say I'm still blown away at where we are right now. in I think less than a year. April is more or less March.
April 3rd, I believe, was our first
show
episode that we launched.
Crazy.
Is this number 30?
Sorry?
Is this our 30th?
We recorded our 30th today, but this is
there
our
you go.
third episode we
Wow,
recorded today. So
A little milestone for the boys.
I think this is 33.
There you go.
This is our 33rd episode.
That's a significant number.
For 33rd degree.
Where are we going with the podcast, right? Like, where will we be in this new decade to come?
Well, where do you want to be? Let's hear where you have to.
Oh man! Again, I'm just still blown away at the fact of where we're at today, and the amount of listens and downloads that we've received, and the worldwide audience that we've gained. And for me, it's been cool to share that with brethren that often visit through our district, and even further than that, when they really who the F3K and what do they do, and we share with them. and they think, oh, it's a cool show, and then we explain, well, we've gotten over 10,000 downloads, and we've got this and that, and they're just as blown away as we are. We've really, I think, scratched the surface of the betterment of Masonry by offering this kind of in this new age of technology, if you will, and being able to share a little bit. And hopefully our audience can kind of just hear and grow with us. We started so fresh and not knowing really what to talk about and how to go about things. And I think we've gotten a bit more comfortable in how to deliver some really good quality shows for you all. But at that same time, maybe we get into, doing some recordings and doing some live shows. Maybe we're already going to be working on kind of traveling outside district now and getting abroad. We've had pretty amazing ideas of let's go to other countries when we start having some opportunities, and if this show just continues to grow in that respect. I was talking to most worshipful brother Ron Groshaw the other day, one of our Grand Lodge past masters, and Grandmaster, and I was sharing with him the other day how we've actually had in the short span of, I think it was like the first 4 or 5 months of starting this show, had a couple people of the public sector, if you will, because not all Masons are just listening to this show, ask, because they've always been curious about Masonry, how do you join this? And I said to him, if this show over the course of however many years we run it just makes one more person join Masonry and provides a positive lookout to everybody else out there, that's a huge success. And so, where do we go with it? Maybe we look at video. Maybe we look at more roundtable discussions. Maybe we talk about a lot more relevance to today's world and society out there. Sky's the limit, guys.
Yeah, and I think reflecting on the last year of doing this, or not even a year, what we've accomplished, like you said, and really, I think we've had 3 people send us messages saying, hey, listen to the podcast, and how can I get involved in Masonry? Can you point me in the right direction?
Yeah.
I mean, the most recent one that I can think of, the guy contacted us from New Jersey, and he said, hey, I'd love to be a Mason. How can I get involved? And I sent him a link to the Grand Lodge, and I said here, here's the New Jersey Grand Lodge, and you can get in touch with them. They'll put you in touch with the lodge closest to your house, and I think we should be following up on that too. Is sending them a message, and exactly, bring somebody in the craft just from the efforts that we've done here. I mean, that's incredible, and I'd like to follow up with him to see if he's in the application process, or a candidate now, or even a Mason now. So. But it's really fulfilling to see that, for sure.
Yeah, I from my perspective, there's so many places we can take this. I'm extremely proud to be a Mason. I love being part of this show. And the next chapter for us, I see, is really taking advantage of the platform to show how valuable Masonry is in the world. Mm-hmm. And that'll come in many, many ways, shapes, and forms. Traveling, I think, is key on our list. We want to get to a lot of the lodges, certainly locally, but internationally is on our list of things to do. We have a great lineup of guests coming on the show. I can't wait to record those episodes, because we have some really cool folks coming on to share their unique perspectives. Fraternal visits with our brethren as well, and that's a bit of a call out to our audience that we are planning on coming to see some of you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is on our list of to do, and we'd love to get your perspective on Masonry in your part of the world. So there's so many things we can do with this. It's off to a great start, and as you said, Gino, it's just scratching the surface.
Oh, just scratch. And I think when we fast forward 5 or 10 years from now and we're still sitting at this table, I think we'll still be scratching the surface at that point, because everything is just, ever so quickly changing, and there's so much to share and so much to add. And again, I think the cool thing of Masonry is modern day Masonry is 300 years old, but the lessons of 300 years ago apply to every second of today.
Yes.
And that's what just blows me away. Like, 300 years ago, they gave you an example of betterment, and it applies today still.
It's like they thought of this.
Yeah, it's amazing. As again we approach the new year, and we're here, we're days away now at this point. What do you do as a lodge? I mean, we talk about setting your own independent resolutions and such, but what do you do as a lodge? And I mean, I'm looking at some things and other topics that we can discuss within New Year's, and I'm looking at this thing online, and it talked about how a lodge had risen from the ashes, and they took the New Year's as a portion collectively to come up with some new ideas. They were on the verge of going dark. This was a lodge, I'm guessing in the States of some sort, or to be honest, I don't really know where it is. I'm just reading it, but they were on the verge of going dark, and I think collectively it just took a few fellas to say, we're not ready. We're not ready to close the doors on this town, of the history that we've had here and whatnot. And so they took this time to reflect on what they can do to improve. And ultimately, it's not always about the membership that you got to gain. Obviously, that membership helps drive it. But we had some experiences with some local groups here, local lodges who, were on the verge or are on the verge of going dark, but they're coming up with new ideas to bring brethren out. And we just went to one of their annual events, first time.
Who's they?
Doric Lodge 316.
And it was really nice to see that there was, I mean, granted they had their members there too, but there were 17, 18 guys there that showed up in collective of their own members, and their members were only a handful at that time too.
Yeah, they're struggling to get 7 guys out, meet quorum, and it's, to run these events and bring travelers out.
Yeah.
It's...
And I think what they can count on through us is we'll be back to support and can do anything and everything we can within our realm to help promote them as well and to assist them. But it really is like it's making those little ideas come to light. We have, and again, I don't want to name lodges in our own district that might have some struggles, but there are a couple. But instead of just shutting the door, we are seeing brethren stepping from other
up.
lodges.
Yeah.
And helping and guiding them. And, this particular month, for example, they're putting on some other host events that they normally wouldn't have done before. And if anything, it brings a little bit more of a fraternal support, or just brings the families together. Well, then that's an accomplishment, right? And so again, it comes back to what Grand Lodge has been saying, plan the long term, really be honest with where you are today. They've got some measurables that allow you to see where you're at as far as a report to them. But like when you lie, or not lie, but when you try to pump your own tires because you're here and you're showing up, if your membership is low, why is it low? Maybe you're not having the same engagement of different events that take place. If you got to look at raising dues to assist with carrying the costs, you gotta do some of the hard lifting. But I find that like resolutions in life, it's meant to be hard for a reason, and the rewards once you start getting it going are plentiful. And at the same time, it becomes an easier process because you all want to do it together,
Right.
So now's the great time as lodges can look ahead to say, and I know it really is the gavel that we follow of the master, but the lodge, yes, has a head and ruler, but the lodge doesn't work unless the membership want to make it work.
Unless the membership
So
works,
you have to come, like, maybe some lodges don't have a CGP, and it's time to put one together and to come up with some new ideas. I'm a big fan, and I've said it time and time again, the wheel's invented. You don't have to reinvent it. Find some good examples that have worked out there.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've had some feedback through some listeners that have said, oh, that's something that we've thought of doing before, and your experience of sharing that with us has kind of really encouraged us to try that. And again, so if we can offer that in our show through experiences that our own lodges practice, our district practices, and other districts that we'll start to visit practice, that's what this is all about, And like I said, it's a great time of year to get that. You get a fresh start. January 1st, all the past is behind you. You can't change the past. You can only fix and better the future. And so now's the time. Get up, put in the effort, draft a plan, maybe have 1 or 2 ideas. You don't have to have a list of 10 or 15 or 20 because you're just never going to be able to do them all in one shot. And start making the effort, put it forward. Lodge will improve. Your own self will improve, and everything around you, I promise, will just follow.
Well, there you go. There you have it. That is our New Year's edition of the First 3K. So happy New Year's to you and your families. Look well to the east, my brethren. And from F3K, happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year.
2020.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the First 3 Knocks. Happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again.